Okay, hi everyone. This is the next flip on finding the components of vectors. So our learning intention for this particular flip, for this particular piece of work, is to understand that vectors are made up of two components in the X and the Y direction. And we're going to be able, or we're going to learn how to split every vector up into its X and Y component. Okay, well, what we need to understand firstly is that all vectors are made up of two components, one in the X and one in the Y direction. So here's a vector, any vector R. What we can break that up into is its X component and its Y component and form a right angled triangle. And of course there's going to be an angle theta in there as well. So far we've found the resultant R given two vectors. Now what we're actually going to do is work backwards to find the two vectors Rx and Ry, which make up that resultant R and the angle theta. Okay, let's look at some examples. So find the components of the vector shown. Here we've got a force vector. It's forming an angle of 40 degrees to the horizontal. The first thing we need to do is to draw the two components in the X and the Y directions. So we'll do that. Then we need to use trig and some simple algebra to work out the trig ratios using the information we're given in the question. So sine theta is the opposite over the adjacent. The opposite is y. The opposite over the hypotenuse. So the opposite is y, and the hypotenuse is 20. So sine theta equals y over 20 and theta equals 40 degrees. So y is 20 times the sine of 40. All we've done there is multiply both sides by 20. And that gives us an answer of 12.8. In the X direction, it's the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Gives us the cosine of the angle. So cosine theta is x over 20 and theta equals 40. Multiply both sides by 20 and we're left with 20 times the cosine of 40 degrees, which leaves us an answer of 15.3 newtons. Simple enough. Let's have a look at another one. This time we've got a velocity of 10 meters per second, forming an angle of 38 degrees to the horizontal. So again, first thing we do is draw the two components in the X and the Y directions and put in an angle theta between them. This time you'll notice though that the angle theta is not 38 degrees, so we need to work that out. Of course the angle theta is 90 minus 38 degrees, which is 52 degrees. Proceed as we did before using some trig and some simple algebra. So we work out the ratios using the information that we're given in the question. So sine theta, opposite over hypotenuse. This time the opposite is x, the hypotenuse is 10. So sine theta, or sine of 52, is equal to x over 10. Multiply both sides by 10 and we're left with x is equal to 10 times the sine of 52 degrees, which gives us an answer of 7.9 meters per second. In the Y direction, we've got the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. That's the cosine of that angle. So cosine theta, or cosine of 52, is equal to y over 10. If we multiply both sides by 10, we're left with y is equal to 10 times the cosine of 52, which gives us an answer of 6.2 meters per second. Okay, so let's look at a real world example this time. We've got a force question. Athens is mowing his lawn and he's applying a force of 52 newtons to his lawnmower at an angle of 68 degrees to the horizontal. So let's pop that vector in. So that is the total force vector. We need to split that up into its components. So that is made up of a vector in the Y direction. Put that in there. And a vector in the X direction. Let's put that in there. Now we need to work out, and we need to split up the X and the Y components of that 52 newtons. So now we need to think about the angle 68 and the opposite side, which is y, and the adjacent side, which is x, the hypotenuse, which is 52. So let's start with the y direction. That is the opposite over the hypotenuse is the sine of that angle. So the sine of 68 is equal to the opposite, which is y over 52 newtons. Multiply both sides by 52. We are left with y is equal to 52 times the sine of 68 degrees. We can calculate that and we're left with 48.2 newtons. Okay, in the x direction, x is the adjacent side. So the adjacent over the hypotenuse is the cosine of the angle. So cosine of 68 is equal to x over 52, and multiplying both sides by 52, x is equal to 52 cos 68. And we can calculate that to give us an answer of 19.5 newtons. So essentially what we've done is split up this 52 Newton vector into the x component, which is 19.5 newtons, and the y component, which is 48.2 newtons. What I want everybody to think about is what can Costa do to make his job a little bit easier, to make applying the energy or the force to his lawnmower to mow his lawn a little bit more efficient. We'll discuss that in class. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Okay, hopefully all of that is clear for everyone. Let's just revisit the success criteria. Are you sure, or can you identify that a vector is made up of a horizontal component and a vertical component? And can you break up that vector into its components? If you can, if you are happy with both of those particular success criteria, you need to now go to the questions that I have posted on Canvas and attempt all of those. We're going to go through those in class, so don't worry if you're struggling. Okay, thanks for watching. Now get to work.